All right, friends, lovers, and that one guy who promised he would totally call me back the next day and never did. The era of the anniversaries is basically over. I know that we have roughly a week and a half left, but people have unlocked their 7-star Maul. They have unlocked their 7-star Darth Vader. They have hit tier 8 of Coliseum. We have seen the full picture of the NES that CG promised us. That is the new era system. Yes, I made that name up. It belongs to me. Over the last day or two, I know that other content creators have talked about their experience in this new era system, and many people reached out to me on Discord to ask if there would be a reply change. There will not be. I have not seen their videos. I know that everybody's experiences are different, and I have wanted to get this out there for several days now, talking about my experience throughout the era, what I feel are the strong points, what I feel are the weak points, and what some of my hopes are for the future when it comes to changes that CG is going to hopefully make. So with all of that said, let's get ourselves started. And of course, as always, if you are one of those people that relies on the YouTube algorithm and does not hit that subscribe button, watches all of my videos, it's right there somewhere. Let's get going. So here is my era levels, roughly level 85 on everybody, and I do have a 7-star Maul who is at level 80. That is because my priority was not Coliseum, but it was getting to 7-star Maul. I do feel I need to backtrack and give a little bit of context here, because I know some of you are thinking, Egnards, did you really spend that much money just for us? And the answer is yes, but also no, and possibly maybe, right? So, going back to the beginning of this era, when Stormtrooper Luke came out, I bought the era pass. That is it. I always buy that pass, the episode pass, sorry, because it's just really great value outside of Coliseum. On top of that, I spent about $15 on different currencies just to kind of see what it would look like in the Coliseum and how it would change my gameplay. When it came to IG-90, I did basically the same thing. I didn't really invest in the character at all, and I participated in the era not in free-to-play way, but a very casual spender way. When Buddy Cop Chewbacca came out, I found this character to be so goddamn funny that I took crystals that were already saved on my account, and I brought him to 7 stars in 1 week. I did not buy any era currency going forward at that point. And then when Asajj Ventress came out, I basically did the same thing. I didn't even spend any crystals on the event until the era challenges started to hit. Now, at that point, we were in character 4, and a very, very, very kind supporter who has way more money than sense reached out to me, told me that he was very embarrassed by my era content, and asked if he could help me bring all of my characters up. All that is to say that I did not spend my own money here, but I did spend about $1,300 getting all of these characters to level 85 and 7 stars. That is slightly disingenuous for what is the cheap way to do this, because if you start from the beginning of an era and you do this the really slow, methodical way, getting the characters in 7 days rather than 1 day, using the challenge itself to bring each character up, you can probably do it for about $800. That is $100 per marquee, the episode pass, which is $20 per month, and then also buying the era currencies to bring them up to the correct level for hate-fueled Maul, which I believe is somewhere around the $150 to $180 range for the entire era for all of the characters. That is not obviously the way that we did things. Our goal was twofold: to catch up, but also to get these characters in 1 day. And after looking at receipts, it was roughly $1,300 over the course of that month. So with that context in mind, what I want you to keep in mind is that I played half of this era as somebody who maybe throws $10 at things and sees what happens, and I played half of this era as a whale with all of the tools. So there are a couple things that I have noticed over this era that are kind of iffy and really problematic to me. The first of those, when we come to Coliseum, is the fact that there is so much RNG in your fights, but you only get 5 battles a day. And that can be really, really frustrating. Yesterday we were fighting the ATST. My high score at the time was 3.5 million from the time before that. And over the course of 10 battles, so even refreshing, the highest score I could get using the same exact team was 2.5 million. My scores over that day went from 1.2 million to 1.8 million to 2.5 million, back to 1.8 million. And there are just so many RNG factors between whether a certain debuff hits, whether the character that you are fighting, dodges or misses something that is important, whether their big hit hits your biggest damage dealer, whether Maul even revived or not, to the point where you as a player did not really feel in control of your runs. You could understand the basic strategy, but there was a huge variance in how that strategy would play out. If I remember correctly, from the beginning of the era, this is something that CG didn't really want to happen, or at least they said they didn't really want to happen. It made Coliseum insanely frustrating, knowing that you had such a major limit here, and for 250 crystals to get 5 more battles, that comes out to $1.51, and it just seems like CG is penny pinching us at that point to try to make a buck off of really frustrated players. Now that seems kind of unreasonable. It doesn't seem like a ton of revenue is coming from that, and all it does is serve to put players in a position where they don't feel good about playing the content. Additionally to Coliseum, when I was playing this as somebody who is not spending a lot of money, I found that I was actually not disadvantaged by spending on era currencies, but there was no incremental change day to day like there is in the free-to-play experience. So when you are playing this as a free-to-play player, what ends up happening is that every single day you make a small incremental change towards a higher score because you are building up your characters over time. If you end up spending $5, $10, $15 on era currencies to bring them up to level your characters, you end up hitting your threshold on day 1 of a marquee cycle. For 4 days, you make progress on those 4 characters, on those 4 bosses. And then after that, you spend the next 2 weeks hitting a wall, getting no rewards, making no progress. You are still, of course, ahead of the free-to-play characters, but over the course of those 2 weeks, they are catching up to you, and you are sitting there twiddling your thumb, doing nothing. It is really frustrating. Some changes that I would like to see here. Number 1, when it comes to our battle count, instead of giving us 5 battles a day, make those battles run like energy. Give me 5 battles at the start of the cycle at 2 p.m. That's when it resets for me in the Eastern time zone. After I hit my 5 battles, or after I've done one of those battles really, a timer starts and I get a new battle every hour. So after I do my 5 battles in the beginning, I can go about my day. After work, I can do 5 more battles. Right before I go to bed, I can do 2 or 3 more battles. I wake up in the morning, I can do 5 more battles. Midday on my lunch, I can do 5 more battles. It gives me a little bit more leeway to play with and experiment with the boss. Now, all of that is to say that maybe you're happy with your score after 2 battles and you don't want to do it 25 times. I don't want to do it 25 times, but you know what? When I know that my score at its max could be somewhere around 3.5 million and I'm only hitting 1.8 million and I am behind my shard because some random crap happened in the battle, I am more than happy to run the battle a couple more times. Additionally, we need to take some of the RNG out of these battles and we need to make them more consistent. The Coliseum battles need to be a puzzle to be solved, not an RNG mess that we have to adapt to every time. Look at the Order 66 raid. It is something that takes about 2 to 3 minutes, but once you've figured out the strategy outside of the 3 clone run, which is something that CG clearly did not intend for us to do and we figured out on the back end, Other than that run, your runs are relatively consistent. There is a pattern. You have to figure out that pattern. Once you have figured out that pattern, you are able to play the runs and pretty consistently, maybe a drop here or there, able to complete them without worry. I also think that there needs to be a daily scale here in terms of the materials that you are getting. So something like a one-time reward, but then also a daily reset reward, right? And that means we keep these tier rewards that are here on the side, and those tier rewards are one-time unlocks, but there needs to be something here that happens every single day. And those every single day rewards should happen based off of the materials you should be earning, right? Not the materials from, oh, hey, my character is already maxed and I'm at 95% and there's no way for me to get to the next tier. They should be the materials you need to earn, even if they are in a much smaller supply than the materials that you receive from your one-time reward, because then at least players are feeling like they are getting something out of it every day, and they feel like they are getting to a point where they are making meaningful progress every day. Speaking of Coliseum and speaking of meaningful progress, listen, guys, I know that we started this whole thing with the Gungans, and it made me super happy because it made wailing on the Gungans so much easier for me. And I get it back then when it was a new system that was still being tested and we were trying to figure things out. But once you get past this first tier in a marquee battle, everything else is drop dead easy. I don't want those battles to be harder, but it's not content. It is literally just time I'm spending. And it is time I shouldn't have to be spending. Give us, just like our challenges every day, a little button up here that allows us to sim all of the battles that we have already completed. I know that there is an argument from some players that say, oh, well, player Egnards doesn't want to play the game. I do want to play the game. I want to meaningfully play the game. I don't want to spend 10 minutes clicking enter, hitting auto, watching my guy kill somebody in one hit, getting out, going back in, clicking, hitting enter, hitting auto, watching them hit somebody in one hit, and going through that 7 times. It's a frustrating experience. And as somebody who does not wail every time, but who does sometimes find a character funny enough to spend all of his crystals on, I am less incentivized to do that when I know that I have to spend my time on this system that does not respect my time at all. Speaking of not respecting my time at all, they are not active right now, but holy shit, Era challenges. I have to say that I hate galactic challenges. I have always hated galactic challenges. I have found them not to be interesting, and I very, very minimally put any time, effort, or energy towards them, doing 2 battles, letting the chips fall because the rewards were kind of meddling anyway, and going on my merry. But era challenges are essentially just a stat check, right? Do you have this level? Yes, you win. You do that in one day, the challenge is over. You have nothing to do for the rest of the week. Something needs to be done there. Give us something a little bit more meaningful, not something that is dumb hard. I understand it's difficult to find the complexity versus the simplicity versus the difficulty versus making sure that everybody has access to it. But it is not an interesting system. It is not a rewarding system for most players who are not hitting those high-end metrics. It does not spark joy. And quite frankly, CG, you guys did Bit Dynasty dirty by taking away 60% of his content, his daily Galactic Challenge videos that probably netted him the majority of his YouTube ad revenue outside of his fleet battle counters, which I look at basically every day. I feel like when it comes to these eras, one of the biggest bastardizations, one of the biggest problems here, though, is something that I don't think enough people are talking about, that I do recognize voices have said it. This era ends on a Tuesday. It ends next Tuesday. I don't know what they're going to do about new characters, but presumably they are going to transfer over to Legacy on Tuesday at 2 p.m. and GAC lock ends at 5 p.m. CG is expecting us in a 3-hour time frame to take 7 characters, find mods for those 7 characters, and lock during that time. Most of us are at work if you are in the United States, right? And that is where this game is headquartered. If you are in Asia, you are asleep during that time. You have no time to put these characters together in a reasonable time for GAC. And if you are in Kyber 3, Kyber 2, or Kyber 1, you are probably in a huge disadvantage to other players when you lock without them and they lock with these characters. Now, I understand and I recognize that even outside of modding, that 3-hour window does not give people enough time if they are sleeping. I recognize that maybe players will need to wake up just to relock their roster. But I think here that 2 things need to actually happen. Number 1, these characters should never unlock until GAC off week. That might mean an extra week in some cases, and in this era's specifically, it means an extra week without using these characters. But new characters of this caliber, of this level, of this many at a time, should be unlocked at a point where players have the time to get them and put them in their roster. But number 2, we also need to be able to go in here, and even if these characters are not able to use the mods in the era system, we need to be able to click on them and put mods on them. Now, there is already a system, and I know on the back end, because .gg does convert it over, I know that CG looks at this character who is level 88 and says, oh, hey, this character is at Relic 3. Great. That makes it easy for me to apply the MK6 mods onto them. Give me a modding area over here for Legacy. Allow me to put mods on them. They are not active in the era system, but allow me to put mods on these characters. Please, CG, do not put me in a position where I have to guess on character modding in such a short time. It is frustrating. It is terrible. It is not going to be fun. And I know that it is a problem that is only going to be coming around once every 3 months, but it is a huge problem that needs to be solved. We need to be able to interact with this modding system overall during the course of the era. Stop making players, because I know some players do it, I don't, many do. Stop making players say, oh, hey, you know what? I never use IG-86, so I'm going to sub in IG-86 for Stormtrooper Luke, and I'm going to start putting my mods on this character and hoping that I can transfer these overs in time. It's not a great system. I understand that IG-86 is useless, but your whole stated goal as a company and what you have done really well over the last 2 years is bring old characters into prominence and into usability. We are running out of characters that are useless. Don't make us do it. It's a confusing, convoluted system. Give us the option, give us the ability to take those characters now and play with them in the modding sphere, so that when they convert over, they are where they need to go. On top of all of this, I do have one more major problem with the new era system, and that final problem here is just how convoluted it is that these characters need 18 different currencies in order to level them up. Now, I'm not dumb. I do understand that a lot of the different levels of currencies very much have to do with the fact that they want to cap you out at a certain thing, so that you have to wait till the next thing, so that you have to wait for the next thing, and it keeps the spenders at an advantage while keeping the free-to-plays waiting 2 weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time to be able to move on ahead. I understand that. I don't necessarily agree with it fully, but I understand it. But there is no reason at all for there to be 2 different currencies per incremental level. We can easily shrink this down from 18 currencies down to 10 currencies without affecting the system even a little bit. Please stop obfuscating this. Stop messing with this. And on that same level here, as somebody that did spend a lot in very short amounts of time, going through this Era store, saying, hey, I need to buy all this Era currency right here. I need to buy this 10 times in a row to get enough to be able to get all my guys. It's very annoying. It's very boring. It's very frustrating. It's not meaningful when I have to click on this, do this, go back to my card, get out of it, do it again, click it, do it, click it, do it, click it, do it, click it, do it, click it, do it. Cut the shit. CG, I know what you want. I understand. You want people to spend. You know what? Calculate this all out. Maybe it takes $40 per character to get a character to 85. Cut the shit. Sell people that pack that says level 85 character pack, brings your character to level 85. Boom. Done. You need the Era currency, fine. You still need to get this, fine. You still need to get that, fine. But you want to spend to get your guy to level 85? Let us do it in one transaction. I know that there are a lot of people right now are saying, oh, Egnards, like, that's not the point. Well, for some people, it is the point, right? All of this is to say, $1,300 were spent on my account in the course of 1 month for the course of a 3-month era. If this were 6 months ago and somebody said, hey, Egnards, I want to whale on pirates for you. I don't even like pirates. I would have been overjoyed. I would have been like, wow, what is this luck? I get to spend somebody else's money and my account prospers from this. And I would have gotten those pirates, and I would have been able to play with those pirates, and I would have been able to use them in TB, which is my favorite game mode. I would have been able to use them in Conquest. I would have been able to use them in GAC and in TW, and it would have been really fun. Right now, the way that the Era game mode works, I have gotten no joy out of spending somebody else's money. And that's ridiculous, right? I understand getting no joy out of spending my money, but I have gotten no joy out of spending money that doesn't even belong to me. I spend the money, I get the character, I play for 3 minutes, it's over. I can't play with them in TB. I can't play with them in Coliseum, in Conquest. I can't play with them in GAC. I can't even play with them in Galactic War. They're kind of just isolated and sitting there on my account, doing basically nothing. Especially now in the Era of Anniversaries where none of those characters are cohesive, so I can't even learn their kits in Coliseum. I can't even figure out how these characters work with other characters. I understand that the loaned Era system, the loaned character system is possibly going to change that, but that is another thing I want to talk about before we finish. But I have felt really empty with all of this money spent on my account. Buddy Cop Chewbacca was a passion project for me before I found this was going to happen. I spent my 20,000 crystals on him and I felt empty still. I wanted to Relic 9 him right away. I wanted to bring him into TB. I wanted to show off a fun, exciting Wookiee squad. I can't do that. I can only imagine if you only whale on one character and Stormtrooper Luke happens to be that favorite character for you, and now you have them in your roster and you can't use them for a full 3 months. At least with Buddy Cop Chewbacca, it was a month and a half. I don't think the Era system as a whole is a win right now. And I think that putting characters on layaway for the game systems that we enjoy playing is not a good way to go about it, and it does not feel good, and it does not make people want to spend money. And I will acquiesce that when I look at the actual numbers, and I do have the actual numbers here right now, and I look and I see that Stormtrooper Luke, after 3 weeks, had 513,000 unlocks and 8,800 7-star unlocks after 3 weeks. And I look at Asajj Ventress, and I see 7,422 7-star unlocks after 3 weeks. And that's actually I know some people are going to say that that's really bad, and they're going to say, oh, that's a trend. Not in the grand scheme of things, and we'll do a whole video on that. But then I look at somebody like Duel and Vader, and I see 485,000 unlocks and 3,000 7-stars in 3 days. I know that spending is up. I understand and I recognize that more people have whaled than ever before. But I know that a lot of veterans who are whaling, not new players who are whaling, but veterans who are whaling, are feeling frustrated by the fact that they cannot use their toys. If I had one wish here, CG, unlock my characters for Legacy and for Era. As a veteran player, allow me to make a choice. Allow me to choose if I want to upgrade them early. Maybe I want to take Buddy Cop to Relic 9 right away. Great. He's not going to convert at the end of the era because he's already too high. Maybe Stormtrooper Luke is useless to me, and I let him convert after the era to get to his Relic 3, Relic 4, Relic 5, whatever Relic level he's going to get to. But let me choose what I want to do. I have the gearing. I have the relics. Let me make that dumb choice so I can play with my toy. I still have to contribute to Coliseum. I still have to level them in your new system as well. Maybe some people aren't going to use that. Maybe some people are going to keep them all at level 1 in their legacy roster. I'm probably not going to. I'm probably going to level them up right away so that I can play with my toys. As a final point, we know that in Coliseum, loaned units are coming to the game. And CG has said, I know that this is not great, and loaned units are coming, we promise. So far, we have gotten a data mine for loaned units. And so far in that data mine, we have learned that, yes, you are going to have to level up loaned units, which is bullshit. That just spend more. We have also found out that loaned units expire. And they will expire mid-era. Because there are whole systems in place where if you start a battle, but your loaned unit is going to expire during that battle, it'll time out the battle and you won't be able to finish the battle unless you actually finish the battle, which does tell me that loaned units are probably going to be something that you either have to pay for in crystals or in money, and I hope that I am wrong. But CG, if you do that, you are already adding more spending on top of a system that already increases our spending, on top of a system that already across the board is adding to the revenue. We are seeing way more whaling than we have ever seen before. If you do this, it is going to be another frustrating nail in the proverbial coffin for a lot of the veteran players. A lot of the 9-year, 10-year players who have spent a lot of money and are already feeling alienated. I don't think that eras are a failure overall. I do think that eras overall need some major retooling to keep them whale-friendly, but also keep them free-to-play, casual, dolphin-friendly, while also making them fun. Make me want to do my stuff. Make me enjoy doing my stuff. Oh, I have one more thing. I forgot. We have talked about the idea of a daily reward, a smaller daily reward. I also think that your leaderboard rewards, these rank rewards, there should be a rank reward, as there already is. But there should also be a tier reward that rewards you per tier. So that a player who is at 1,000 plus getting 10 era currency, and they're like, man, this really fucking sucks. They get themselves to tier 6. Maybe the tier 6 reward is 60. Now they're getting 70 a day. That person getting 70 a day at least feels like they are getting something more. And for me, at the top, getting 1,000 a day, getting 1,070 per day is not meaningfully different. But for these guys down here, that is a huge, meaningful difference. And it does push people to push to the next tier. Guys, all of that said, I really am hoping that next week we get some great news about changes to the era's positive news about changes to the eras. I am hoping, I am praying. Please, I have been holding out hope. Right now, I'm negative and I want to be positive. CG, I beg you, CG Coffee, CG Meathead, CG Electric Toothbrush, reach out to me. Let's talk. We've done it in the past. We have liaised. We have talked ideas. We have back and forth. We have made meaningful change to this game. Let's do it. Let's get there. Let's make it fun, engaging, and profitable. With all of that said, I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Bitch at me on Discord. I don't care. Peace out, and have a great rest of your day.